Today's story is one that could reshape the relationship between Silicon Valley and the US government. Before we begin, if you value serious, independent reporting that cuts through the noise of daily headlines, consider subscribing to this channel. We break down the stories shaping technology, politics, and the future of power in America. A quiet standoff between Washington and a rising artificial intelligence company has suddenly exploded into one of the most dramatic tech policy conflicts in years. At the center of it is Anthropic, a fast-growing AI firm founded by former engineers from OpenAI. And on the other side of the dispute stands the administration of Donald Trump. The conflict escalated so quickly that it stunned Silicon Valley. In a matter of hours, federal agencies were ordered to stop using Anthropic's technology. Then came an even more severe move. The Pentagon labeled the company a supply chain risk. That designation carries enormous consequences. It means US military contractors, suppliers, and partners could be prohibited from doing business with the company. For a technology firm whose clients include government agencies and defense partners, the implications are enormous. Some analysts are calling it one of the most aggressive actions the US government has ever taken against a domestic technology company. And the reason behind it reveals a deeper battle over how artificial intelligence will be used in warfare, surveillance, and national security. The dispute began quietly. Over the past 2 years, Anthropic had become increasingly involved in defense work. The company supplied AI models to intelligence and defense agencies through a partnership with the data analytics giant Palantir Technologies. In July, Anthropic and several other major AI developers signed a $200 million contract with the US Department of Defense. The Pentagon's interest was obvious. Artificial intelligence is rapidly becoming a strategic military asset, capable of processing intelligence data, assisting battlefield decisions, and accelerating cyber operations. In Washington, many officials now believe that the country that dominates AI will dominate the next era of geopolitical power. But Anthropic had built its reputation on something different: safety. The company repeatedly emphasized ethical guardrails on artificial intelligence, and as its relationship with the Pentagon deepened, those principles collided with military priorities. The conflict came to a head during negotiations over how the government would be allowed to use Anthropic's AI models. According to multiple reports, the company insisted on 2 specific restrictions: no domestic mass surveillance and no fully autonomous lethal weapons. In other words, the company wanted assurances that its technology would not be used to monitor entire populations or to allow machines to make life or death decisions on the battlefield. Anthropic argued that AI systems are still far too unreliable to operate in those contexts. The Pentagon saw the issue differently. Officials pushed for a broader standard, allowing the models to be used for what they described as all lawful purposes. From the government's perspective, that language already covered the concerns Anthropic raised. But for the company's leadership, the wording was too vague. The gap between the two sides widened rapidly. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had already circulated a memo outlining a more aggressive Pentagon AI strategy. In it, he suggested that the military needed access to models free from usage policies that might restrict lawful military applications. That statement alone signaled a fundamental clash. Silicon Valley's emerging AI safety culture was colliding with the Pentagon's national security doctrine. Negotiations stretched on for weeks. Then the Defense Department delivered an ultimatum. Anthropic would have until Friday afternoon to accept the government's terms. If the company refused, officials warned that its contract could be cancelled, and more drastic measures could follow. Late Thursday, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei made the company's position clear. He said the company could not accept the Pentagon's conditions in good conscience. Within hours, the response from Washington arrived. President Trump ordered federal agencies to stop using Anthropic's technology. Then came the more dramatic move. The Pentagon labeled the company a supply chain risk. Historically, that designation has been used almost exclusively for foreign adversaries or companies suspected of ties to rival governments. Applying it to an American AI company stunned many in the technology sector. Some experts say the message from Washington was unmistakable: work with the government, but don't challenge its terms, or risk being shut out entirely. Critics argue the move sets a dangerous precedent. If the government can blacklist a domestic technology firm during a contract dispute, it raises serious questions about how much independence Silicon Valley companies truly have when national security is involved. And those concerns spread quickly through the tech industry. Some analysts warned the decision could make other AI companies hesitant to work with federal agencies. The United States is currently racing to build an advanced AI ecosystem that can compete globally. That effort depends on cooperation between government and private technology developers. If trust breaks down, the consequences could ripple through the entire national AI strategy. And in the middle of the conflict, another development raised eyebrows across the tech world. Just hours after the government severed ties with Anthropic, a rival company stepped forward. OpenAI announced it had reached a deal with the Pentagon to deploy its AI models on classified military networks. The timing was impossible to ignore. The agreement reportedly included several restrictions, including bans on domestic mass surveillance and autonomous weapon systems. Ironically, those were the very same safeguards Anthropic had been requesting during negotiations. OpenAI executives insisted their deal actually included stronger guardrails than previous agreements, but the optics were striking. One AI company had just been cut off from the government. Another had stepped in immediately to fill the gap, and the Pentagon wasn't stopping there. Officials had already reached an agreement with xAI, the AI company created by Elon Musk. Discussions were also underway with major players like Google. The message from Washington appeared clear. If one company refuses to cooperate, others are ready to take its place. But the fallout inside Silicon Valley has been intense. Hundreds of employees from OpenAI and Google signed an open letter urging their companies not to accept Pentagon demands without stronger protections. They warned that the government could attempt to divide AI firms by negotiating with them individually. Their message was blunt. If companies stand alone, they become vulnerable. If they stand together, they have leverage. This tension exposes a deeper question now facing the technology industry. Who ultimately controls the future of artificial intelligence? Private companies building the systems, or governments deploying them? That question is becoming more urgent as AI grows more powerful. Modern AI models can already write code, analyze intelligence reports, detect patterns in massive data sets, and simulate complex scenarios. In the wrong hands, the same systems could enable unprecedented levels of surveillance or automated weapons capable of making independent targeting decisions. For decades, military technology development was dominated by government laboratories and defense contractors. But AI has changed the equation. Today, many of the most powerful systems are created inside private technology companies. That creates a delicate balance. Governments need access to those technologies for national security, but companies worry about how their creations might be used. The Anthropic standoff may be the first major test of that relationship, and it may not be the last. Some policy experts believe the government's decision to blacklist the company could discourage innovation in areas tied to defense work. Others argue the opposite. They believe national security concerns must come first, and that companies working with the government must accept that reality. But one fact is undeniable. The battle over AI governance has entered a new phase. This is no longer just a debate about regulation. It's a struggle over power. Power between companies and governments. Power over technologies that could shape the global balance of security. And power over the systems that may soon influence everything from warfare to intelligence gathering to economic competition. Halfway through this story, if you're finding this analysis valuable, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. We focus on the stories that reveal how technology, politics, and global power intersect. The stories that often unfold quietly until suddenly they reshape entire industries. For Anthropic, the immediate future remains uncertain. The company argues the government's designation is legally unsound and sets a dangerous precedent for American businesses. But legal battles could take years, and in the meantime, the damage may already be done. Defense contractors and partners may hesitate to continue using its technology. Government agencies have already begun cutting off access. For a company built on partnerships with enterprise clients and government institutions, that disruption could be severe. Yet the broader implications may extend far beyond one company. If Silicon Valley begins to view government contracts as political risks rather than opportunities, it could fundamentally alter the structure of the American technology ecosystem, and that could affect how quickly the United States can develop the next generation of artificial intelligence tools. In the global AI race, speed matters. China, Europe, and other major powers are investing heavily in military AI capabilities. Washington's strategy relies on cooperation with American technology companies, but cooperation requires trust. The Anthropic dispute has shaken that trust. Whether it ultimately strengthens government control over AI development or pushes companies to assert greater independence remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the relationship between Silicon Valley and Washington has entered a new era. Artificial intelligence is no longer just a technology industry story. It is a national security story, a political story, and increasingly a story about who decides the limits of the most powerful tools humanity has ever built. And if you want to keep following these major shifts in technology, government power, and the future of AI, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the decisions being made today will shape the technological landscape for decades to come.